You got heaven. The heaven that you got shapes the life that you live. If your heaven allows you to imagine abundance, then you will imagine abundance for those around you. If your heaven includes Lazarus at the banquet, then your life should have Lazarus at your dinner table. The ideal future that we imagine is what shapes the life that we live here. You got heaven? How do you imagine that heaven? Because the heaven of God shapes the world that you live. We have a bit of a chicken and an egg dilemma here. Which comes first? The life that we live and how it shapes our imagination of the next life? Or does first come the life that we imagine to come, and that shapes how we live here? Most people and most religion teaches that, well, how you live this life is important because that will get you some reward in heaven. There's a bit of that going on in this parable by Jesus. Remember, it's a parable. It's not some description of what heaven is or isn't. And if you read up to the background of the story, you'll know that there's been some addition of some Hellenistic, some Greek mythology to the telling of the story. But there's a little bit of that, how you live this life will shape what happens in the next. But the emphasis is Jesus having us imagine how things are ordered in God's imagination. Lazarus is the one who gets to feast sumptuously. And Jesus is teaching his disciples and teaching us that if that's how God imagines the world in the next life, then we need to imagine how that is here. So, the chicken and the egg, you'll never know which came first, but they are intimately connected. How you imagine your heaven, it strongly shapes how you imagine the life that you live here. How does it happen? How is it that this imagination we have for heaven is going to have any impact on the world that we have here? The answer is in the hymn that we sung. This notion that we have to be able to see heaven, we have to be able to behold how God imagines the kingdom of God, and that God is transforming us through that imagination. It's all in the song. Do you think that they'll sing? Like, has this congregation ever sung during a hymn? You haven't been here. We're going to start with that. Sing it with me. Oh, sorry, go back. Behold. People like Lazarus, people who are the downtrodden, the people who live on the margins, the people who don't have health and home and loving hearts around them. God imagines those as being first at the banquet. And our imagination as followers of Jesus Christ is to be shaped accordingly. And if we have Lazarus in our heaven, then we're going to imagine ways to get Lazarus at our table. Looking through the news this week, and of course, there were the climate strikes going on. And images across the world, across the country. And when I saw this picture here, it grabbed my attention. You see the sign that says, "You can ignore us, but you will regret it." And I saw that, it captured sort of a modern reading of today's parable. In Jesus' parable, he's having Abraham say to the rich man, "You ignored the prophets among you when they were in your ear whispering that God loves and prefers the downtrodden. And now your reward is regret. I sent you the prophets." Who are the prophets of our day and age? Who are the people who are calling for us to imagine what it is that we need to do, how we imagine a future life, and how that future life shapes what we do each and every day? The prophets in our world are often the people we don't want to listen to. The prophets in our world are often the people who rub us the wrong way because we don't like their inconvenient truth. We don't like what it is that they want from us. Just leave me alone. Let me live my life so I'm happy and so that I'm satisfied. Prophets warn us not to be complacent. Religion, unfortunately, has used prophecy for destruction. Some religion, it imagines that the next life is only arrived at through apocalypse. That the world we live in today is just a stepping stone towards some future paradise. And in that way of imagining, it means that this life is disposable. That this life, it can be consumed and tossed away because its only purpose is to get us to something better. And when that's the imagination that shapes us and our faith, why bother taking care of this world? But some theology sees heaven as the new Eden, the new creation. A new creation that has already started with us, for us to behold here and now. And we are called by that imagination to care for, to be good stewards of the gift of creation. It all has to do with how we want to imagine God's gifts. In this parable, it's tempting for us to imagine that, I'm Lazarus. I'm the one having a bad day. And those powerful people with riches, they'll get their due. I'm the beggar. Or maybe we read this parable and we think we're the rich man, and we think, this is a little unfair to us. If only Lazarus would have, found a little gumption, grabbed a job. It's tempting for us in this parable to think that we're Lazarus or we are the rich man. But Jesus is telling the story in a way so that we'll imagine that we're the brothers. In the story, you'll remember, the rich man says, all right, so if it's hopeless for me, then send a prophet to my brothers who are probably still seated at that banquet table eating all that they can and throwing their scraps into the table. Send the prophet to them to warn them so that they don't fall into the same torture and regret of that experience. And Abraham says, they have prophets already. For some people, it doesn't matter what warning you give. We are like the brothers. And our job is to listen to the prophets of our age. The ones who are speaking God's truth, who are imagining the blessedness of God's creation. Greta Thunberg, the 16-year-old girl from Sweden, who was the catalyst for a lot of the activity that you saw in the news this week. There's a prophet for our age. Wonderful picture here. You see at the UN Climate Summit meeting, you have this young girl staring down with no smile on her face, Donald Trump as he enters the UN Climate Summit. For some people, Donald Trump's the prophet. For some people, the 16-year-old is the prophet. For us as followers of Jesus Christ, we have a story that is prophetic to us. We have a story that says God's creation, and remember, the children will know this downstairs, this is the season of creation when we stop and remind ourselves that God's creation is good. And God said it is good. That is to shape our imagination and to shape our behavior. And so, what heaven do you got? What heaven motivates you? If your heaven has got Lazarus at a banquet, then your heaven should have Lazarus at your table, at your hospitality meal. If your heaven has got gay marriage, then your life here, your church pews, they should have people in the LGBTQ plus community. If your heaven has streams of flowing water, then your world here shouldn't have First Nations with boil water advisories. If your heaven has a new creation, and your world has us as a new creation. The heaven you got is the life that you live here. But behold it, see it, and know that God is transforming this world through us in this time, in our path, to make all things new.